Today I'm going to try to draw this waterfall in Tbilisi, Georgia, and there are two things here worth noting. The first is that this was the first video I've made where the reference was shot with the wide-angle lens on my phone. It took me this many videos to do it because I was kind of worried about the quality or the distortion or whatever. And I've come to realize how stupid that is, especially when I consider how many drawings I didn't make due to the subject not fitting into the frame. So let me know what you think about that, if you think anything at all. The last thing is that this will be the last video from Georgia. I'm leaving early tomorrow morning, flying to another place that starts with the letter G. Any guesses? Again, let me know in the comments. So, another waterfall in Georgia. This makes 3, and I think they've only grown in size. This little cove area has actually been closed until recently. I guess they were building a walkway or something. So I'm really excited to finally get the chance to come back here and to try my hand at drawing it. This area is right around the corner from the old town. So if you happen to be in Tbilisi, do yourself a favor and come here to escape some of the hustle and bustle. There are still plenty of people who make their way over here, but there's also plenty of room. And when I was there, no one but a strange man with a camp stool stayed for more than 5 minutes. Anyway, thanks to my other waterfalls, but more specifically my other little rivers, I've learned a thing or two about how to get these started. Even though everything in me screams, draw the waterfall first, I know that that doesn't work. I can draw the outer edges of it if I keep things light and loose, which I do in a way, but I prefer to start with the shape of the stream. I'm focused on the bank, the meeting place of the water and the ground, and how it curves its way around and toward me. I think this gives me a great place to start compositionally, and it helps me understand the rest of the proportions within the frame. Starting with the waterfall, even if I thought that would be a good idea, would mean that I'm nailing everything down with this one large shape. If I make it too big, the stream becomes a much more diminutive component. If I make it too small, I have to kind of extrapolate upon what I see, engaging a bit more imagination, which is fine. But if that's not what I'm going for, I would rather keep things proportionate and reasonably accurate. So that's that. Beyond the stream and ignoring the waterfall for now, this scene is purely textural. From the ground to the rocks to the sporadically sprouting foliage, texture is everywhere. So that's what I want to work on next. Once I have the basic shape of the stream in place, rather than continue drawing it, which really just amounts to water and some leaves, and that's difficult, I work my way out. And in this part of the process, I'm really just letting my eyes explore the scene, and whatever catches my attention first, I try to draw that. So these large angular rocks on the right really stood out, and I kind of let them pull me up to the next thing and the next thing and so on. Before I knew it, I was already up in the trees, which at this early stage was one of my favorite parts of the drawing. In fact, I think all of this texture was particularly pleasing to me at the time, and I was just having such a nice time drawing it all. Rather than focus intently on one specific feature and copy it directly, I would use like a cluster of rocks or branches or what have you, like the idea of those things to give me a sense of the shape and perspective, kind of creating a broad, vague representation of the area. So you'll notice that none of the rocks are one-to-one, but broadly speaking, the types of sizes and patterns of those rocks do follow the reference. Also, if you're enjoying this video, consider subscribing to the channel. It's right down there. You can see it from here. It's free, it's easy, helps me a lot. I'd appreciate it. Okay, so as you can see, one downside to all of this texture, and more specifically, trying to draw all of this texture, is that it can become easily muddled. Without more contrast, or on the other hand, subtlety, I guess, all of these marks can become more like marks on a wall instead of layers of earth. I've lost a lot of the jutting out effect Or actually, no, I never even implied that effect at all. I still think I'm on the right track, generally speaking, but I can see this getting pretty confusing, and that leads us into the waterfall itself. As you may know, if you've seen my other waterfall videos, you'll recognize the one and only technique I've ever used to create the illusion of falling water, and that is these straight vertical lines. On one hand, they're great because they're so different from the way I've drawn the rest of the scene, which was intentional, believe it or not. But on the other hand, it's a really simplistic, symbolic approach upon which I hope to improve. Mostly because even though those lines are vertical and, in a way differentiated from the horizontal lines of all of the surrounding texture and context, it's still just pretty simple lines, and it does tend to get lost in everything else. Similarly, the power of the water landing in the pool at the bottom, I've symbolized with these bubbles, and I do like that. But again, it's a very simplistic method, and I would prefer to bring out a little bit more realism, especially because those bubbles could be misconstrued for something else. That being said, with the context that you just watched in the reference video, you know what's going on here. So your brain can intuit a lot of these little shapes and you know what to look for. But without the reference, I think some of this might get confusing. Cool. So the thing that stands out to me the most is a lack of contrast. This feels very flat. Not that there's no depth in the perspective, but that the wall and the waterfall and the trees, like I said, are all just a little lost in each other. And even the slightest bit of shading, I think, would help quite a bit. It's almost like I put this into Photoshop and decreased the contrast to as low as it would go. Anyway, not a huge deal because this was probably one of the most enjoyable drawings I've done in Georgia, and I think it was a great way to end this part of the series. Would it have been better to draw yet another church? Sure, but I drew one yesterday, and where I'm going, there's no shortage of them. So look forward to that. Let me know what you think of my waterfall, subscribe to the channel, and like the video if you had a good time. I appreciate you for taking the time to watch this one, and I'll see you on Monday. Thanks.